ready to start, colleagues? Thumbs up in front. Okay. 1, 2, we're good. Sharp. Okay, Minister, I think we can begin. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this press briefing being led by the Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille. My name is Aldrin St-Pierre. I'm the Media Liaison Officer for the Minister, so thank you so much for joining us today. I'm a bit out of breath because it has been a rush, and the rush is also because of this level of excitement that we have today in making an outstanding announcement, which I can't make yet. See the DG there shaking his head, so I can't make that announcement. The Minister will come to the fore and make that announcement. And just some housekeeping rules. We will have a Q&A session immediately after the Minister is done with his statement. So any comments that you have and questions that you have, please put up your hand. And then we'll also go to the guys who are joining us online as well, and we'll be taking their questions as well. Let me now welcome the Director General for the Department of Tourism, Victor Vele.
Thank you, Eldrin. Minister, I can see he's quite quick. He has caught up on the protocol. He's no longer a journalist. He's a spokesperson for the Minister in the Ministry of Tourism. Mine is very brief. I just want to introduce who is here, but also to welcome the members of the media. Thank you for honoring the invitation of the Minister to this briefing. We are here led by the Minister, Minister Patricia de Lille. We are also here with the Deputy Minister, Maggie Sochu. And we have a few colleagues that are also here to provide support in terms of whatever questions you may ask, and there's more details that you would require. That would be from the department side. I saw DDG Anmi Malan. I also saw DDG Madito Nkisitwaba and DDG Dr. Sipo Gomane. We have colleagues from South African Tourism. I did see the acting chief marketing officer, but she's part of you rather. That's Tandiwe Matibela. And the other two colleagues, that would be our, I don't want to make announcements, but it would be our Chief Financial Officer. Minister will say more later. That is Ms. Lerato Sitole, as well as our Chief of the Convention Bureau. That is Ms. Kone Hodge. That will be all the people that I need to introduce. And once more, welcome, and thank you for honoring Minister's invitation. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you so much, DG. So it's that moment now that we've all been waiting for, the Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille. Minister, if you can come and join us on the podium. And as we've indicated, that after that we'll be taking your questions as well as your comments on both in the House here as well as online. Minister.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you, DM, DG, the colleagues from the Department of Tourism and SAT and the media. Thank you for joining us here today. You will see that we have put a heading of today's briefing that tourism policy is economic policy. And this afternoon, we will reaffirm a simple but powerful truth that tourism is not a soft sector. Tourism is solidly economic policies. And this proof, we will give you the proof in numbers today. Between January 2025 and December 2025, South Africa welcomed more than 485 million visitors.
10 million?
10 million.
Yeah, 10 million, 480.
10 million. These figures, I'm thinking about some person in Parliament once who struggled with the figures. Okay, let me do that again. Between January 2025 and December 2025, South Africa welcomed 10.485 million visitors to our country, an increase of 17.6% against the 2024 figures. But this is the highest number of arrivals on a record, and it is exceeding the previous highest number of 2018. We've now, for the first time, exceeded the 2019 arrivals by 2.6%. So now I don't want to hear about COVID anymore. We are not recovering anymore. We are growing now. So, but it comes as no surprise to all of us that South Africa has also been named the Best Destination Africa 2025 by Travel Weekly Reader's Choice Awards. Colleagues, this is not a coincidence. It is the result of deliberate policy choices, focused implementation, and strong collaboration between government and the private sector. And these policies includes government's growth and inclusion strategy gains, which has also identified tourism as one of the 5 key sectors in our country that can unlock economic growth. So we have momentum, and importantly, we have a bold and implementable plan to build on. Last year, Cabinet endorsed the Tourism Growth Partnership Plan. It is a product of deep collaboration between the public and the private sector, led by Tourism Business Council. And then this plan is anchored on just 5 priorities that both the private sector and the public sector agreed on. The plan is also supported by a dashboard that allows us to track progress against our targets and also the individual work streams in real time. So this is about accountability, about delivery, and also measuring the impact. So let me start with our first priority. Our first priority is ease of access to our country. So Home Affairs has rolled out the electronic travel authorization visa, a big enabler for tourism, a game changer. The system that we have tested during G20, it now opened up big source markets like India, China, Indonesia, Mexico. And the pilot that Home Affairs tested during the G20 was very, very successful. So with the full rollout of the electronic travel authorization, we project the creation of between 80,000 to 100,000 additional job opportunities. So this is very transformative. But ease of access also means air connectivity. And here, the needle is also shifting. We are implementing the cabinet-approved route development marketing strategy. We welcome several new flights the past 2 years. For instance, we welcome Qantas from Australia, a direct flight between Perth and Johannesburg. We've seen the return of Air France daily seasonal flights to Cape Town. We've seen South African Airways' new route to Mauritius. And we've also seen expanded domestic connectivity, including FlySAF's Hoedspruit Cape Town service. All of these routes are unlocking demand, and they are dispersing tourism all over our country. Our second priority in our plan is coordinated destination marketing. Coordination between one destination. So we need to coordinate between the public sector and the private sector. And again, following Cabinet's endorsement of this plan, we consulted with all the 9 provinces, all the MECs, all the transport authorities in all 9 provinces. We consulted with SALGA, all the metropolitans, and also to give a real meaning so that we can unify our international and regional and domestic markets. And this destination marketing also include business events, what we call the MICE sector. Meetings, incentives, conferences, and events, but I will speak about that later. But speaking about the provinces, I want to say congratulations to KwaZulu-Natal. They've really turned the corner this past December. And they've welcomed more than 1.2 million visitors. So well done to KwaZulu-Natal, to Durban, for having turned the corner, and that they are now again one of the best destinations for people to visit. But then also, because our Deputy Minister is from the Free State, and she will not forgive me if I don't mention, in June, we launched the Dinosaur Interpretation Center, Godumudumu. The 2 of us were there. We had to follow the tradition by showing our respect to the royalties, to the traditional leaders. And this interpretation center, it's a partnership between the European Union, the Department of Tourism, and Sandparks. We invested about 120 million to build this interpretation center. But here's the success story. Since it opened in June, we've seen more than 80,000 visitors going to that center. And Sandparks have collected more than R1 million in revenue. And once again, also Gauteng has hosted a successful G20, and they are continuing to get the benefit. Our third priority is tourism, safety, and security. Now, but while safety is the mandate of South African Police Services, we acknowledge as tourism the impact on our destination confidence. And therefore, we are working together with the private sector, South African Police Service, the National Prosecuting Authority, cities and provinces. And we have a plan that we are implementing jointly. So the contribution of the private sector to our safety and security initiative is that they have invested in an app called the Secure app. But they further invested in an operational center that's operational 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. From the Department of Tourism, last year we invested 174 million. We then employed and trained 2,300 safety monitors. This year, the Department of Tourism, we deployed 1,500 tourism monitors, including giving 400 of them to the Border Management Authority. And then we also made some of them available to the airports company. Our fourth priority is tourism product development, with a strong focus on infrastructure, tourism infrastructure. Diversify our experience, and that also we take tourism into the small towns, the villages, the townships, to diversify our tourism offering. There is a perception that South Africa is just about safaris and Table Mountain. Yes, those are very iconic places to visit. But what we are doing now is that we diversify our tourism offering and take it across the whole of South Africa. And therefore, we have hosted, in a direct response to the need for infrastructure, tourism infrastructure, we hosted our first tourism infrastructure investment conference last year. And it's not just about new infrastructure, it's also about maintenance of our existing infrastructure. We have got a number of UNESCO recognized heritage sites, and we have to look after them so that we can maintain that status. And in our first inaugural investment summit, we then produced 8 bankable projects from the private sector and from the public sector worth over 1 billion rand. And even now when we went to Davos, we were able to show investors that these are the investment opportunities in South Africa and where they are, both public and private sector. We also informed the investors in Davos that we continue to build this pipeline because we are going to have another tourism infrastructure investment summit in September of this year. But why are we seeing also investors coming into our country? I can tell you with the opening of the Club Med, it's a French resort franchise. We are opening the first Club Med in Southern Africa in June of 2026. It's an investment of 2.5 billion rand, a public-private partnership. So that is showing confidence in our country that people can invest here. Then I want to speak briefly about the short-term rentals. Yes, it is something that's beginning to be debated and discussed in South Africa, and therefore I am starting a consultation process and have initiated, as the Department of Tourism, a short-term rental code of good practice. We will be gazetting the code for public consultation within the next 2 weeks. We will also have public participation engagements. We have to engage with the major cities in our country because some of the short-term rentals is also legislated by bylaws. We will engage with the Short-Term Rental Association. We will engage with Airbnb. but it is an issue that is coming up that we've never had to worry about before because of the competition and the shortage of affordable rental space for locals and the demand from short-term rentals from our visitors. On job opportunities, because all of what I've spoken about is leading to job opportunities. Tourism sustains 1.8 million direct and indirect jobs. And it's estimated that one job is created for every 13 international arrivals. I want to deal also briefly with technology, because technology is reshaping the world travel and tourism market. And the United Nations Tourism Organization has put technology and AI in front and center on the agenda of tourism. And we then adopted a declaration in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia last year. But in the declaration, we as countries, as South Africa, we have got our own South African AI roadmap. And it is the responsibility of government to provide connectivity for all. Government must provide connectivity for all, public and private sector, to bridge the digital divide. But it is then up to the private sector also to use that connectivity to drive innovation. So in tourism, we need to find a balance with digital technology and AI. We must look which services within the tourism sector must be digitized, and we must look at which services in the tourism sector must be humanized. Because you can never take out the human factor out of tourism. That is the challenge that we face and that we must attend to it. And so, what did we do last year? Last year, the Department of Tourism hosted a tourism hackathon. It was launched at the University of the Western Cape. We invited 21 universities to participate in the hackathon. We provide prize money for them. And we gave them what they must go and look for us for. And we said you must reimagine tourism solutions using technology. We also said to them, you must look for solutions. How can government become more effective and efficient by using AI and technology? And we will be repeating the hackathon this year. It was the proudest moment of my life to stand, to be with over 80 ministers of tourism from around the world at the G20 meeting in Skakusa. And these young, bright South Africans were presenting African solutions that could be scalable to the rest of the world. So we will definitely be repeating this year in partnership with the universities. South African tourism has also launched what we call Sianda. It's an AI-powered travel assistant supporting North American travelers from the USA and from Canada. So well done to SAT for that. Then we have got another South African innovation that I actually discovered in Davos. And I was so excited that South African innovation is being recognized globally. Like the Kango Wildlife's project, Zoological Open Architecture, that received the World Economic Forum Award for a Startup Innovation Award using AI to strengthen conservation. And I want to say congratulations to the CEO of Kango Wildlife, Douglas Erickson, and who is joining us today. Douglas, can you stand? And well done. Thank you. We also want to congratulate, earlier this month, we all know about the devastating floods in 3 of our provinces, but worse hit Limpopo and Mpumalanga, and including the infrastructure in the Kruger National Park. Of course, we extend our condolences to all the families that have lost loved ones during this tragedy. And from the Department of Tourism side, we have committed that we will support the mopping up and the cleaning up of both public and private tourism facilities in those 2 provinces through our EPWP program. So the DG has made that commitment, and we are going to use our EPWP budget to assist both public and private sector tourism institutions and facilities like guest houses, hotels, and lodges to help them with the cleanup. We've also seen that Sandparks has also launched the Recovery Fund to mobilize broader support. Business events is also underrated within the tourism sector. And today I want to share with you that just one business event that the impact and the influence of it was during G20. In September of 2025, we held the G20 Tourism Ministers meeting in Skakuza in the Kruger National Park, where delegates woke up with the roaming of wildlife before walking into high-level global discussions. And this is our competitive edge. So following the success of G20, the World Economic Forum will also host now a special Davos meeting in South Africa next year, 2027. And that is a significant endorsement of our capability and our credibility in the world. Also previously known as Spring Davos, this 2-day gathering will mirror the World Economic Forum in Davos, and it's a meeting that will bring together heads of states, policy makers, captains of industry. So the maize sector has shown strong returns and delivery in our country. To give you an example, in the current financial year, because we have to bid to host these events, and therefore we've got our own South African National Convention Bureau, and the CEO is here today. And then we invest, because you must invest to make money. So we put in 95 bids for the current financial year. And we have secured 51. And the value of those events that will add to our economy will at least be 894 million rand. And what we will do later in the year, we will publish all of these successful bids that we have won, because then you can see it spread all over the country, not just in all of the major centers. But in government, we invest in our own business events. And there are 2 major business events that government invests in every year. And the first one is Meetings Africa. Meetings Africa will now take place here in Johannesburg from the 23rd to the 25th on February. The arrangements as well on track. because our experience from Meetings Africa of 2025, it generated 690 million rand, and it created 1,200 jobs. For Meetings Africa, the exhibition management company has been appointed. And when I checked on the 23rd of January this year, we have already had received confirmation of 659 hosted buyers applications, and 207 of those buyers have been vetted and have been confirmed. Now, last year, we also host the Africa Travel in Durban. We will be hosting the African Travel Durban again in Durban between the 11th to the 14th of May. The contribution to the economy last year was 610 million. I want to speak a bit about South African tourism, the entity of the Department of Tourism. As part of strengthening the governance of SA tourism, the new board has completed the process and has appointed a chief financial officer, a chief audit executive, and also a chief convention bureau. So all of those key positions have been filled, and it will certainly strengthen the governance within SAT. Then we also received a resignation from Mr. Daryl Erasmus, who is the Chief Operating Officer, as well as the resignation of the Chief Marketing Officer, Ms. Tembi Shlosho. Thank you, dear. Then to brief you also on the Chief Executive Officer remains suspended pending the finalization of a disciplinary process. And the South African Tourism Board continues to prioritize oversight of government while also supporting the management of SAT on their operational capacity. So already work is underway and has started to expedite the filling of these vacancies of the recent vacant executive positions in accordance, subject to all governance processes and also the approved recruitment framework. So the advertisement for the Chief Marketing Officer and the advertisement for the Chief Operational Officer will go out by the 1st of February. And we hope to complete the process by the end of February, early March. Now, before concluding, I also want to extend my appreciation to content creators and creators who are all the time amplifying South Africa's story globally. And for you who spend a lot of time on social media, you will know the kind of material, content that they are producing around our country. So I want to thank the team that was behind the American Gamer, I Show Speed, viral South African tour, which was viewed by over 10 million times. 10 million times. And they are also in the room with us today. And I heard that he wants to come back to make that happen again through content creation. And that shows you how we can use digital technology. The last one that I also want to recognize is Malomi Foodies. They won the TikTok Sub-Saharan Africa Food Creator of the Year. and is the only South African to win an award at the ceremony. Are we not a great nation? We are really a great nation, and we can be so proud. Because, and the reason why I mentioned this is because these voices help the world to see South Africa. They help the world to choose South Africa and come and visit our beautiful country. Now let me come to the thank yous. I want to start off by thanking Deputy Minister. We are working very well together. She's feisty. She's fast, no nonsense. DM, I want to thank you. And I want to thank our Director General, Victor Veli. And then, of course, I have invited here today all the Deputy Director Generals within the department, and the DG introduced them. And, of course, all the people working within tourism, because we must work as a team. I want to illustrate here today that we are working as a team, not as the minister alone. I certainly cannot do it alone. Then I also want to thank South African tourism. What's in all problems and all whatever we are faced, but for every problem, there's always a solution, I believe. And I also want to say thank you to the board, the executive management of South African tourism, and then, of course, the staff in the ministry. I also want to say thank you to them for us all working together as a team. So the message that we are sending today, that tourism is working, tourism is delivering, and tourism will continue to be at the cornerstone of inclusive economic growth, investment, and job creation. So that is my story, and thank you for listening to me. I really look forward to engaging with you. DG is here, DM is here. But this is a real good news story. You know, sometimes our friends in the media bombard us all with bad news. This is a real good news story. And also thank you to the media for joining us here today. And may God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. So there you have it, guys. We've been able to break through those 2019 figures. So it is a big deal for us as the tourism sector, and the Minister always speaks about her targets that she needs to reach, about 15 million international arrivals by 2029, and we're on track to achieve that. We're going to open up the floor now for any questions that you have. Please put up your hand. And then Batabile is also receiving questions. For those who are joining online, you can also post your questions online, and we'll get those questions from Batabile, who will be reading them out. Okay, let's start from the floor here in the room. Any takers? Okay, all right. Okay, I have Lizega. Katleho. Sorry, and? Dale. Okay then. Okay, let's start off with Lizega.
Good morning. Good morning or good afternoon, Minister, Deputy Minister, and DG. My name is Lizega Tandwa. I'm from the Sunday Times Live. Minister, congratulations with all your achievements. Unfortunately, we are journalists, so we are going to speak about some of the things that you might not want to touch on today.
No problem.
Minister, the DA, your allies and the GNU released a statement, I believe it was 2 days ago, yesterday, where they bemoaned your statements at Davos about the progress you've made in SA tourism. And I don't think that you can fudge those concerns off, Minister. You have a TOMSA levy, which you have not received, and
The what?
TOMSA levy, you have not received about 500 million. and the CEO, David Frost, of Tourism Business Council, has attributed this to having no engagement with SA Tourism, and he says that it's also part of the reason that private sector has not released those funds is because you had qualified audits. Can you touch on that? Yes, you say that you have filled some of the critical positions at SA Tourism, but you do not have a CEO, you do not have a COO, you do not have a CMO. When are those positions going to be filled? And perhaps you could give us an understanding of what exactly was the reason for Mr. Daryl Erasmus's decision to resign, and what happens after the 13th of February when he resigns from his position. That's it for now.
Good afternoon, Minister. Good afternoon, colleagues. Katla Rolorodi here from the SABC. Mine would be around the adverse weather conditions. We've seen how they've really impacted various of these industries, the floods affecting Kruger National Park and the tourism economy. But would there be somewhat of a plan, Minister, around these adverse weather conditions? We've also seen the fires playing themselves out in the Western Cape, in also the Eastern Cape, and they've been disrupting the flow of business and tourism alike. What would be the plan around this, especially to avoid somewhat of a repeat of COVID-19 that seems to catch most of these industries off guard when that happened? Another one would be around the air traffic navigation services, ATNS. I'm sure you've seen the challenges there going into the G20 and also going into the festive season, whereby there were components that were not in order. They've since committed. We've seen the CEO there even removed from her position. She had been undergoing somewhat of a misconduct issue that has been happening there. What would be the plan around the ATNS, looking at it not disrupting the work that you've been doing over time, and your reaction to some of the things that have been happening at AXA and at ATNS alike? Thank you.
Okay, and then Dale.
Thank you very much. Dale Hess from Tourism Update. Thank you, Minister, for all the updates. It is indeed very positive news that we have breached those figures. So, yeah, some great initiatives happening, definitely. I just wanted to touch a bit more on Meetings Africa. You mentioned that things are on track. However, private sector associations who I've spoken to have voiced serious concerns that things are not on track. They say the EMC was appointed far too late, and that's especially concerning when a similar problem was experienced last year with Meetings Africa, which affected the show. So can you provide assurances to the private sector that Meetings Africa is on track and that there's no risk of it being postponed or possibly even cancelled? And can you also share the name of the EMC who has been appointed? And I also just wanted to touch on what the Sunday Times journalist said about the private sector's loss of confidence in terms of not handing over the TOMSA levy funds to South African tourism, and what this signals about the private sector's confidence in South African tourism at the moment, particularly considering all the vacancies at the organization. Thank you.
Can I go? Let me start with the last question first of Dale. Dale, the issue of the TOMSA levy has been resolved last year already. The Portfolio Committee requested the Minister and the Deputy Minister to meet with SA Tourism, the Tourism Business Council, and TOMSA. And we did have a meeting. And before I met with them, they had put together a joint destination marketing plan, TBCSA, SAT, and TOMSA. And they had agreed that joint plan that they have put together, that money will be used to fund that plan. So the money is not lost to the sector. The sector came up with a plan how to spend that money. And that happened last year already. Also, in terms of the TOMSA levy, the chairperson of the board of the Tourism Business Council, Mr. Jerry Mabena, he also put together a marketing committee from Tourism Business Council and a marketing committee from SAT. And again, they are working together so that we can bring destination marketing together. You must remember that as government, we put in 1 billion rand to market South Africa as a destination. The private sector put in 30 billion. So now that they are working together, we can become a bit more aggressive in terms of marketing the destination. So that's the outcome of that. As you know, I don't deal with supply chain management issues. And I will not be able to tell you who and which company was appointed. That sits with the fiduciary duties of the board. But when these allegations came out about us not ready to host Meetings Africa, I did make inquiries through the board chair. And I did receive a report that the agency was appointed. I don't have any further information because I don't interfere into supply chain management issues, but I have requested for the board to give me a report of the rollout, because it's February, it's a month from now. So I've asked for a report about the rollout and the preparations for Meetings Africa. Then, so I've answered the levy issue. Let me come to the Sunday Times. And I know, I was saying tongue-in-cheek that, you know, I like balance. There's some good news, but I was not saying don't ask about the other issues. You're perfectly right to do that. Well, first of all, you know, the Deputy Minister and myself, we are accountable to the Portfolio Committee of Parliament. And they will from time to time give us their program and say, come and brief us on this, come and brief us on that. And we regularly brief the Portfolio Committee. Now, in terms of the one of the, let me say, allegations that the Meetings Africa is under threat and no service provider has been appointed, I've just responded to that to say that, in fact, a service provider has been appointed. I've responded to the tourism levy. That is being resolved also. And then, of course, the issue around the positions. Now, I cannot get into, I can only tell you what I've seen in the written letter of resignation of Mr. Daryl Erasmus. He stated that he has got better opportunity or he's got a better job, I don't know. But there was nothing in his letter that say, I'm resigning because of this and that. He just said that he has found better opportunity. Regarding the CEO and the CMO, I've just reported to you now that already the process has started, that the advertisement will go out on the 1st of February for the COO and the CMO. And then they normally have an outside agency or panel that help them with the recruitment process. But they have put a deadline that the process of recruiting the CMO and the COO must be concluded by the end of February. earliest the first week in March. On the CEO, I've also reported that the disciplinary process has begun. And again, I don't interfere there because I need to get a recommendation from the board. And I do know that the board has set the time for themselves to conclude this whole DC process also by the end of February, early March. What was the other one? Private sector.
The impact of inclement weather from...
Oh, no, I'm coming to that when I was just looking at Sunday Times. Yes. What I also want to say is that people must understand that no organization runs on the basis of one person. If you drop dead tomorrow, the organization must continue. If people resign tomorrow, the organization... So I think it is wrong to read into this, that this organization has come to a standstill. Again, if the members of the portfolio committee can follow the reports, the DM and myself go and give them quarterly reports of every quarter. We have given the portfolio committee Q1 report and Q2 reports. In Q1 report, SAT almost had spent I know it's over 95% in the first quarter. Their second quarter performance report was even better. Then we, of course, all government departments, including entities, at the beginning of every administration, government, all departments, we have got what we call an annual performance plan, approved by Parliament, approved by Cabinet. So when somebody is not there, we've got a plan that we implement. And continuously also, we also have the medium-term development plan, a 5-year plan. So we get measured in terms of the implementation of existing approved government plans. So I want to assure everyone that I've got confidence that the board that I've appointed in the interim, that they're doing the best. In terms of appointing a new board, we have advertised last year. The advertisement closed on the 5th of December. We have received over 200 nominations because people need to be nominated. And so now with the Department of Tourism, we are now going to work on a process to process all of those applications. Once we have processed those applications, I must then take names and for recommendation for Cabinet's approval. So that process has started. And again, like I was saying, the advertisement closed on the 5th of December, and the process is in motion. Yes. On climate change, yes, I can't agree more with you that we cannot today plan anymore without overlaying on all the decisions that we are making. We must overlay the impact of climate change. If you look at the infrastructure that we built, we can't continue to build the way we built 20, 30 years ago. You need to build infrastructure that could possibly withstand this adverse weather conditions. And of course, as you know, in South Africa, we also sometimes have aging infrastructure that get destroyed and need to be rebuilt. But so that's on climate change. We have in the Department of Tourism what we call green tourism. We support, for instance, we give incentives to guest houses, to hotels, to green their establishments. So we help them to put PV solar panels on their roofs to mitigate the issue of load shedding. Thanks God we don't have load shedding anymore, and how to use water. So yes, we have got a program around the green economy. I can't speak for AT&S, that is with the Minister of Transport, but I can tell you when those things happen, it does impact on tourism. People miss their connecting flights, flights are not on time, there's not enough jet fuel at the area, at the airports, and that's run by the airports company. So again, you know, it is under the Department of Transport that they will deal with those issues. But I can confirm that it does cause disruption for tourists. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Batabile, we've got questions online.
About 10 questions online.
Okay, can't hear you. Minister, can you hear Batabile?
Yeah.
Okay.
First question is from Xian Sun, representing China News Services. Minister, last year South Africa introduced the TTOs for the Chinese and Indian markets. Against the backdrop of the 2026 China-Africa Year of People-to-People exchanges, what new and concrete measures will the South African government introduce this year to further restore and expand Chinese tourism to South Africa? Next questions are from Marvin Charles, representing News 24. Minister, 6 years after your department began drafting regulations for short-term rentals, there is still no national framework. While the entire neighborhoods in Cape Town are being hollowed out into holiday lettings, driving up rentals and pricing locals, especially young people in entry-level jobs, out of the rental market. At what point does this delay becomes a policy failure, and will you commit to a clear deadline for regulating Airbnb and protect long-term housing without killing tourism? And are you concerned about it, especially given that it is fueling a housing crisis in Cape Town? These questions are from Mudiba Mudibe, representing Inside Factor. Minister, your department has been in the news for many wrong reasons. Example, abuse of senior women employees, but you seem to defend the DG. Why? Why is the Department of Tourism CFO, and why has she been booked off indefinitely? Second question, the DG has had his contract renewed after he spent over 10 years in the position. Why is the proof of the achievements to justify further appointment, which is irregular in terms of the Public Act, Chapter 5, Paragraph 12, he quotes, a person shall be appointed to the post of head of department in terms of Section 9 of such term, not exceeding 5 years as the relevant executive authority may approve. Have you concurred with the extension of his contract for the third term? Third question. We are informed the public protector has been investigating a number of irregularities and complaints against the department. Example, tourism monitors tender irregularities, yet your implicated evaluation committee chairperson is still in position and making decisions on critical matters. Why? Fourth question. Why is the Department of Tourism using the same old excuse about taking disciplinary action against certain managers without any evidence of the outcomes of these processes? Fifth question. SAT's investigation by the SIU was proclaimed and required in law. Why did the Department of Tourism jump into the same processes without a presidential proclamation? Is the DG allowed to proceed without your concurrence and support? Question number 6. The department is running a
I think maybe that should be the last one from him. That should be the last one from him so that we can go on to other people. I'm sorry.
The department is running a program called Tourism Monitors worth millions of rands. Recently, there were newspaper article of tender irregularities implicating on the senior managers who was chairing a bid evaluation committee. The said individual even admitted to knowing the owner, even though he failed to declare that, of the company that was awarded a tender irregularly. It is alleged that the senior manager has since been promoted despite this allegation. And it is also said that he was again in charge of the chairing of the bid evaluation committee for the next phase program for tourism monitors. Why is this individual allowed to still be in charge when your department is notorious for always suspending people at a go and conducting lengthy and ending disciplinary procedures? We have just one last question from you.
Sorry? Is that the last person?
Yes,
And no more questions after that?
yes.
Okay, Minister, I think you can come up. Sure, you can go ahead.
Okay. Still on the same program, are you aware that your department conducted interviews for potential candidates over 3 months ago and issued appointment letters to those beneficiaries? And later that 3 months later, most of the appointed individuals are still at home without any work or training, and that they are now being asked to complete registers and submit to the department so that they can be paid. So, Minister, your senior managers are willing to go to any lengthy to flout the EPWP rules just so they can pretend like the program is working. Some kids have been contacting us as media, and what are you doing? What are you going to do about this? Thank you.
Are you finished?
Yes.
That came from News 24,
No, it's Mudiba.
From Inside Factor.
from Inside.
Factor.
Inside Factor.
Oh, Inside Factor. Let me just give the context of all of those things that you've asked. Because the DG and myself and the DM, we know exactly what you are talking about. This is the context. There are 3 employees in the Department of Tourism that have raised these allegations for the past 2 years. And every time they're adding on to it. In 2024, when there's an allegation against the DG, I must get the delegation from the president to act. The president responded by saying, Minister, do an investigation about these allegations, and then you come and give me a report thereafter. Through the office of the state attorney, we appointed a senior counsel. And the senior counsel started the process to investigate all of these allegations. The 3 complainants, and I think maybe we should make that report public because they keep on repeating the same things. The very same repeat what you are, that you spoke about here now. It's exactly what, so we know what it is. Then when the senior counsel started meeting, the senior counsel introduced him to the complainants. The senior counsel was introduced to me by the state attorney, and they went ahead. Almost 1 year, the senior counsel asked the complainants to come and give their evidence. You know, they didn't even want to participate in the process of the investigation. They refused. They sent me a letter to say, and to the senior counsel, we are not going to participate. They couldn't back up most of these things with evidence. So they had the opportunity to come and bring the evidence about all of these allegations for it to be tested. An allegation remains an allegation until it is tested. And after almost a year of struggling with them, I finally had to close the chapter, and I then sent everything of the senior counsel, everything that I've done, the recommendation of the senior counsel to the president. Because at the end of the day, Director Generals report to the President. So now they are abusing a media platform to raise this rubbish, that they cannot come forward and give any streak of evidence for it to be tested. And so now we will release the report on these allegations that they are now even adding on and adding on. For the record, the Department of Tourism received 2 clean audits consecutively. 2 clean audits. So the AG didn't pick up this nonsense. 2 clean audits we receive at the Department of Tourism. So I'm going to ask on those staff members to stop trying to mislead the public by giving them allegations that they don't have evidence and that has never been tested. The DG and myself and the DM, we are happy that we have received another clean audit this year. So I'm not going to go into all of those details. An abuse of seniors, they've been repeating the same things. But we make it a point, DG, that we release that report now so that the public can see the truth. You know, the truth always survives. And then let me come to short-term rentals. I just had whispered in DG's ear now about the 6 years of drafting regulations. As before my time. And DG confirmed that somewhere in 2019, there was a bill, and I don't know what happened to the bill. Honestly, I didn't know about it. When the debate around short-term rentals came up at UN Tourism and all over the world, I went to go and look at the legal mandate of what the Department of Tourism can do to intervene. And we looked at the Tourism Act of 2014, and I think a Section 5 or Section 8 of the Tourism Act, it empowers the minister to come with a framework code of conduct, not regulate. So I must now go back, and maybe DG can speak to it because he's going to answer some of these things. I have to go back and look at this bill of 2019. I've not seen it. If it has been a bill, it must have disappeared somewhere in the parliamentary processes. But I will definitely go into look. But I will be proceeding with gazetting this code in the next 2 weeks. On the SIU proclamation, again, there's no SIU proclamation for the Department of Tourism. There's a SIU proclamation issued by the President 2 months ago for South African tourism. And I was the minister who wrote to the President to ask for a proclamation. Because of all of these allegations in SA tourism, the President approved a proclamation to investigate South African tourism for the past 5 years, up to 2025. That's in the proclamation. The SIU has already come to SAT. They had to sign an engagement letter. They had to inform all the staff members to give their full cooperation with the SIU, and the SIU has already started that investigation. The reason why I asked the President for a proclamation is that you find that when people are found to have done wrong, they resign. And then you can't do a disciplinary. Or you can't proceed and even trying to recover if money that might have been lost. But with the proclamation, whether you have left the organization, through the SIU can still pursue you criminally or civilly, and that's why we've got the proclamation. But there's no SIU proclamation for the Department of Tourism. Again, the issue of tourism monitors, allegations again. It has come up all the time, and I'm going to ask DG now to respond to some of those issues. And maybe I can just quickly respond to the TOS, DG. The Trusted Tour Operator Scheme came in February of 2025 for China and India. But 65 tour operators were appointed from both countries and from South Africa. And that has eased the burden of applying for visa. But now we are past that, because India and China can now make use of the electronic travel authorization. So, the tour operators that will also continue to assist people who prefer to go to a tour operator for a visa, especially when they travel in groups, they can still do so. DG, you can take over the other questions.
Thank you, Minister. I want to start by saying that even those that are, Minister, that are at the helm of the organization, they remain human beings. If you scratch here, what comes out of me is blood. I have a heart. I have a family. And I'm starting there because when things are thrown, not sticking, thrown and not sticking, and then the platforms that all of us rely on become the channel upon which those things would be attempted to be placed so that perhaps they could stick, is really not appropriate. I'm going to say, what I'm going to share with you, it will be guarded, and I'll tell you why. It's because there is pending current disciplinary cases against individuals who are pushing this narrative. How much I share with you could collapse those. So what happens is that a person pushes and pushes and pushes, so that one day you're going to lose it and say something. That which you then say can be presented before a DC, and there's no more case, because a person was tried on a public platform. So those are some of the things that unfortunately come with the position that I occupy as a Director General. I've been in this position since 2015 September. 2016, I was just a year in the job. I received the Best Director General award in the country. I was a 41-year-old man at that time. I was the youngest DG in the country. I continued to work diligently and made sure that there is not going to be a single stone that is going to be left untouched. We have turned all those stones, and we're going through each of those things one by one. That will never make me a popular person. I have never applied for the job to become popular. Somebody else asked a question to say, but why is this DG renewed? The minister is saying we have now gotten out of COVID, we're back. Was that DG not part of that work? Now, let me go to the SIU. Minister, I did mention this to the minister. I approached the SIU, and minister also advised me on this much earlier, to say SIU works in two ways. You can go to the SIU and say, please second resources to the organization. And on the basis of which, once you have seconded the resources, they will then do the investigation. Option 2 is to go through the proclamation route. SIU came in, started to do the job. And I'm happy, Minister, today that cameras are here. South Africans can see me, and they will know that this particular person that they saw, the public needs to protect in some instances. So when I brought them in, gave them the terms of reference to say, we have fruitless and wasteful expenditure. The fruitless and wasteful expenditure, some of the media houses may not know. 2018-19, it amounted to more than 100 million rands. That's what I'm fighting. You take people to the DC, they take you to court. After exhausting all these mechanisms of the grievance and this and so on, the first time the matter was taken to the Public Service Commission, it dismissed it. Minister gave me the letter. That was 2022, May. Public Service Commission dismissed that. Then subsequent to that, we were taken to court to say, no, this must not proceed. The court said this must proceed, and it must proceed with costs. That is what we've gone through, that whole process. SIU came back to me and said, we are hitting a brick wall. So I said, what do you mean you are hitting a brick wall? They said, we are getting massive pushback. So I said, what should I do? They said, you can write to us to request that we consider a proclamation, and I've done that. Now, I'm not involving Minister in that except to inform her, because these are matters of the accounting officer. It's about fruitless, wasteful, and irregular expenditure. I really need South Africa to know this. South Africa must know this. Sometimes you get things that are posted to some online platforms that you don't even know what it is. The DG is using the driver to take his child to school and all that. What on earth? And I'm saying these things because out there, as matters of news and so on go out, people don't have these nuances that I'm actually sharing as I'm speaking to you now. I'll give you another one. On the monitors, there are people going through the DC process now, as I'm speaking to you. We have charged, and there are processes that are underway. And what had happened there? Part of what happened is that there are people, so you have got this departmental bid evaluation, departmental bid adjudication committee that decides who's got the tender and so on. And again, it's important for me to clarify something. As an accounting officer, my responsibilities on procurement are 3. I approve the terms of reference and/or the bid specifications. That's the first job. The second one, I appoint the bid adjudication committee with clear terms of reference that are based on the law. The third one, in the event that there is a deviation to be entertained, I become the person who's responsible for making sure that the deviation is done. That's all I do. Who is appointed, where, what, I have no business in that. If you come to the office and ask me who is doing what, who's doing what, I don't know. I would not. But I will tell you this work is under DDG such and such, and that DDG must own up to the work and show me that this is what they've done. All my years, DDG Malan is there. I've worked with, we've worked for how long now? I don't even know. 20. Yeah, back there, she was my chief director, Minister. She's now my DDG. Ever since my appointment, the only time that I have had a man working with me is DDG Dr. Ngomane, who was appointed this last year, 2025. Everybody else I work with is a woman. At home, I've got 2 girls. Those are my daughters, and my wife. Those are my two bosses. So what is this thing that I don't want to work with women? I don't understand where it comes from. So let's throw as much as we can. Maybe something will ultimately stick. Nothing will. Nothing will. Now, I want to say this. The monitors one, we had a very interesting one. So the bid adjudication committee made a decision, but the name minister that was published was not the people that the bid adjudication committee agreed on. So you sit, you agree, you decide, but someone goes and publishes somebody else. And other people also went as far as taking that publication and began to engage without a letter of authorization that there's a person who has won, you can comment. Those are the kinds of things we're dealing with. Now, Minister is talking about clean audits. They are a hard bargain, I must be honest. Because you have got to make sure that you go through everything properly. And as you do that, you pick up a lot of enemies in the process. Quite a lot of enemies in the process. Leakage of organizational information and this and all those types of things. They happen because you are actually following up on things. So those are some of the issues. Why am I still here? I'm a qualified professional. I love what I do. And I do it for the South Africans. If I was to leave here tomorrow, I have no doubt I will be having a job in the next month or two. I have no doubt. Probably that is going to pay me a whole lot more money than what I earn now. But I love what I do. And I want to do it for South Africans, and I will continue to do what I'm doing. And I'm grateful, Minister, for the opportunity to serve for the next 5 years. So those are some of the things, the issues about a DDG sitting in a committee and so on. We went through that. I did share some of that information with the minister. We went through that in detail, and we discovered that there's absolutely nothing to it. It's a smear campaign. So, having expressed myself on those issues that I thought I should actually offload some of them, I do want to also say, part of what the AG has cited in the past 2 years with regards to the outcome of the audit, they say it's largely attributable to the tone at the top. That's what they said. That's what they said. I'll move on to, Minister, I'll move on to the short-term rental and what exactly happened. 2018-19, at that time, I think, Minister, it was amongst your predecessors, I think it was Minister Hanekom. When we wanted to go to Parliament, it was just before the time when the fifth Parliament term was coming to an end. So that could not make it in. When we came to 2019 elections, there was a policy shift in approach. And that policy shift meant that we needed to first go back and review the white paper. That's the white paper you finalized, Minister, in 2024. And that white paper now informs the position firmly to say this is what can then be done. And as Minister said, in the coming 2 weeks or so, we will be in a position to actually put that out to the public. I don't know if there is anything else that I have not actually touched on. Adrian? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, DG. Minister, can I just take one last round? Please be short and brief, guys, because we need to wrap up, and then we're going to break for lunch. So here in the room, we'll start off here.
acting tourism lecturer. Minister, my question really is more on destination marketing. Looking at the South Africa's destination image and the events that happened last year in terms of negative narratives in the media, both local and international, what would you attribute this success of having 10 million visitors plus? What would you attribute that to? And also, what, in your understanding, what would be the key things that are really responsible in terms of attracting these over 10 million visitors? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Mafa, okay, over here.
Hi, my name is Leroy Jason from LRJ Productions, the group that curated I Show Speed's stay in South Africa. You know, we love the work that you do, Minister, and your department. I think it's one of the strongest departments in our country. We congratulate you guys on the numbers that you've shared today. Just some questions. I've got 3 questions, very quickly on the culture. You know, South Africa is obviously one of the richest, rich and diverse cultures in our continent. How is tourism sector ensuring that the culture is not just showcased but respected and preserved? The second one is, how do we move beyond just wildlife and luxury travel and trying to position culture as a core tourism pillar? And then I think also just for the future, in your perspective, what is the long-term vision for cultural tourism in South Africa?
Okay. All right, Minister, I think we can then answer those questions and then we wrap up. And just a follow-up from Mervyn is on the short-term rentals, whether there is a clear deadline regulating Airbnb to protect long-term housing without killing tourism, and also if Minister is concerned about the effects that it's having on the housing crisis in Cape Town.
Let me start with the short-term rentals and the housing crisis in Cape Town, especially. We must look at what are the solutions to deal with the housing crisis in Cape Town. Cape Town needs to build more affordable housing close by central business districts. Cape Town must bring affordable housing into the city center. And I know there's land. When I was the mayor, I identified 12 pieces to build that affordable housing within the CBD and 5 kilometers around the CBD. That will be the solution for the housing crisis that's there. When it comes to short-term rentals, you can say, and where we are now, especially in Cape Town, is with the success of Cape Town and attracting all of those millions of tourists from around the world. And Cape Town is not the only city in the world struggling with it. When we were looking at the short-term rentals, I also engaged with the Minister of Spain. Barcelona's got that problem. London has got, New York, all over the world. So we must separate the housing crisis from the short-term rental is adding to the crisis, but the solution for the crisis is to build more affordable housing. You know, we come from a very sad past. Many people, millions of people, were removed, forcibly removed from the so-called white areas and dumped in the Cape Flats and Khayelitsha and Mitchell's Plain and all of those. People have lost their whole families in the process. That was called apartheid spatial planning. And all cities must deal with the apartheid spatial planning. Because cities, instead of building affordable housing closer to the cities, they even take them further. Apartheid built Mitchell's Plain in Cape Town and built Khayelitsha in Cape Town. Then we came in 1994 and we took it even further. So unless we deal with apartheid spatial planning and integrate cities, we're going to continue to have this problem of not only short-term rentals, but housing crisis. You know, what you raise about preserving our culture. You know, they say culture is a soft power. Or if you look at our performance internationally, because when we get an Amapiano that hits the world stage, it's South African culture. Black coffee, and I mean, there are so many. But when it comes to government now, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture have got an MOU with the Department of Tourism, and we work together on preserving culture. And starting off with our heritage sites, starting off with our liberation routes, all of those must be protected for the next generation. And the next generation and the current generation, the millenniums, they have taken culture in South Africa to another level. It is there, my brother. Nobody will ever be able to destroy our culture as Africans in South Africa. The question about what did we do to improve or to get to the numbers where we are today, government cannot do it alone. Partnership with the private sector. That is part of the big success. To say there's one destination, one South Africa that both public and private sector promote and market across the world. Let's work together. So that collaboration has paid off. We've also, in government, have the reforms through Vulindlela in the presidency reform, the visa system that has led us now to the electronic travel authorization. Cabinet also recognized that we are a long-haul destination, and therefore Cabinet approved the route development marketing strategy. So it's not by coincidence, you know, it's by design through the policies of government that we were able to reach where we are today. Yes, I think I've spoken the whole day. Dian must say something and Dian must close. Dian, come close fast. Thank you so much for the engagement. We plan to do quarterly engagements now, so that we update you about all the events coming. On Friday, we're launching Live Golf on the 29th. Again, tourism has piggybacked on the event to market our destination, to say to the golfers, come before the event, this is what you can do while you're in South Africa. Stay after the event. So we're launching it on the 29th. Then we've got 2 jazz festivals coming up in Cape Town, one in Franschhoek, one in Cape Town. Then in 2027, we are hosting the Cricket World Cup. And we will be hosting Spring Davos. So we will begin to work with arts and culture, and we will give you the calendar of events for 2026. Thank you, Dian.
You see now the challenges. No, thank you very much, Minister, and thanks to everyone here today. Minister, I think you have addressed all the issues that has been raised by our visitors and everyone, and And I'm happy that, DG, you also explained the issue of us as your female bosses. And also, even at home, your bosses are female, your wife and your children. And I need also to indicate that even myself, as new in the department, there was a time when I was also engaged in the issues of DG abusing ladies in the department. But I said, she must start with me, I'll deal with him. He must start with me, I'll deal with him. And then he laughed at me when I said that. It's just a joke, that one. I just want to say thank you very much for being with us here today. And thanks, Minister, for explaining everything, especially on the issues of the SAT. Because I know that I told you even before we came here, Minister, I'm sure that you will be getting questions as far as SAT is concerned. And I'm happy that you responded so well to those issues that has been asked here. Thanks very much, and thanks for everyone for supporting this. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, DM. Thank you so much, Minister, DM, as well as DG. Colleagues, thank you as well for honoring the invitation. Just a quick announcement on the lunch. The lunch will be served upstairs at floor number 1 in the atrium. Amanda Ukona. Amanda, are you here? Is Amanda here? She's outside. Okay, so Amanda is outside. She's dressed in black. She'll be able to escort you to where the lunch will be taking place. Once again, thank you very much. And for colleagues who want to have a one-on-one with the minister, please come and see me on the side.